Thanks for listening to The Professional Edge. My name's Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. What we're talking about this day is pivoting because we need to take into account the inflation that is roaring right now in the economy and what actions the Fed are going to take and what is going to be the ripple effect within the economy within your portfolio. So as a registered investment advisor, we have a fiduciary duty to act in our clients' best interest at all times. There's nothing to sell except for counsel and advice. That is professional counsel and advice because it's coming from a tax attorney, a CPA, and certified financial planner. So why I title this show Pivot is because we need to change directions. We need to, put the reins and pull tight on the right-hand rein to move in a different direction. Because if we continue to go forward and not make any changes in our portfolio, then we are going to suffer the repercussions of this change in economic conditions. Now, we know that inflation started back about a year ago, and now it's just full-blown, out of control. We have basically the highest inflation in 40 years within the food sector, and you all have experienced that. The price of hamburger, the price of chicken, laundry detergent, everything. It's just like companies are saying, well, we're going to increase our price by 30 or 40%, period, take it, leave it, and we're done. And you know what? Some sundry items, such as laundry detergent, we have to wash our clothes, and there's nothing we as a consumer can do to combat that. Or if we pull up to the gas pump, it's $3.64 a gallon, over a dollar more than what it was 1 year ago. And we're still buying our gas. So that has price elasticity analysis on that. So how do you combat that? You can't say, well, I'm not going to buy gas no more. And that's your decision. That's not going to work very well. That's not practical. Or you say, hey, I'm tired of high food prices. I'm not going to buy any food at the grocery. That's not a realistic thing. But within your portfolio, there are things that you can actually do to assist in combating this inflation on your own economic activity. So let's think about this. When the Fed announces that they are going to address inflation, what does that actually mean to a listener here on the Professional Edge? Well, that says that the Fed is going to, increase interest rates. And how does that really affect your portfolio? Well, if you have bonds, that's number one. Think of a teeter-totter. You have the fulcrum in the middle and you have two ends. And we know when one goes down, the other side goes up. Well, that's the inverse relationship with interest rates and bond prices, meaning the value of your bonds. So whereas one side of the teeter-totter, that's the interest rate. So we have it at near zero, right? 0 or 0.25%. So when the Fed raises that interest rate, well, okay, we're off the ground on the one left-hand side, and bond prices is sitting over on the right-hand side. So what happened to bond prices when the interest rates went up on the left-hand side? Well, it went down. So that's the relationship you as a holder of bonds has to take into account. So as interest rates rise, bond prices will fall. So if you are that conservative investor listening here on the Professional Edge, and you're a holder of a large amount of bonds because you're a conservative investor, get ready for a guaranteed drop in value of your bond portfolio. Now, it's not going to affect your interest rate. Your yield is actually going to go up because the bond prices are going to fall down, and that is not probably going to stop for the next probably 18 months. So as each time the Fed adjusts the interest rates up, you sitting on the teeter-totter on the right-hand side that have bonds, well, your bond value is going to fall. So again, there's things that you can do to adjust your portfolio to combat this almost guaranteed. Yes, as a registered investment advisor in the securities industry, we have to be very careful on saying that word guaranteed. But macroeconomics say when interest rates rise, then bond values fall. So if you want a objective, professional review of your portfolio, we welcome the opportunity at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. Now, getting back to that pivot, well, we want to pivot out of bonds and move to a different holding that is also going to be conservative. And are we going to jump to cash? Well, no, cash is paying less than 1/4%. It's paltry. You have $100,000 and you earn about 26 cents on that interest income. It's crazy. So we can't really move to cash, but there are other alternatives. One, let's think about this. I like getting checks in the mail. I don't know about you here as a listener on the Professional Edge, but getting checks in the mail is pretty cool. So, think about it. Your Costco refund check just got issued and it's like found money. It's pretty cool. So how can we find some money in your portfolio? Well, let's look at what is producing income, and that might be equities and companies that have rising dividends. And are you going to, select an individual company? I'm not sure I would address or accept that risk for an individual company. So we would diversify that risk and buy multiple companies that produce dividends. So that's going to give you that income to combat the additional price on food and gas and energy. So we look at that and say, okay, what's the best way to do that? Well, being a CPA, we have to evaluate what items we're actually selling within the portfolio because there is a tax consequence. And if you are working with a broker, top name firms, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, even Fidelity, the 1-800 numbers, you might be doing this yourself. Well, you get to carve the turkey yourself. You are the turkey. And with that, you grab that knife and you just go in there and cut away and get rid of the bonds. And then you get these dividend payers or whatever you Google. And guess what? At the end of the day, you have a tax consequence potentially because you did the carving on the wrong turkey or the wrong portion of the turkey. So again, it's costly. And if you're working with that 1-800 firm or the major brokerage house, look at the fine print on your statement. It says, we do not provide tax advice. Any financial decision, you should engage your tax advisor. Well, we all know that almost any financial transaction that you do perform within the portfolio involves tax consequences. So why wouldn't you work with someone that is actually licensed to provide you that professional tax counsel and advice as it relates to your investment decisions? That service is available. So we do that at Estate Management Counselors. Before we make this transition or pivot within a client's portfolio, we analyze the tax consequence. And you're saying, well, I'm going to make this in my IRA account. Yep, you're exactly correct. There is not going to be a tax consequence. But are you holding the right assets inside that IRA? And yes, there are better assets to hold than others within an IRA or within a Roth IRA. That's the other thing. What investments are you holding there? If you have a large or substantial portion of your Roth account in bonds, then we definitely need to have a conversation. And to start that conversation, you can give us a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. So getting back to this pivot on these bonds, and I know a lot of individual listeners here on the Professional Edge have an allocation in their portfolio to bonds. That's great, and it makes financial sense. But let's look at what kind of bonds you're actually holding, because let's get back to our teeter-totter. So when an individual has these bonds, think of the right-hand side if you're tuning in. That is the bond value. Well, we also say the length of that board or the teeter-totter on that right-hand side is the maturity of that bond. So when we get a longer maturity, then the right-hand side of the teeter-totter gets very long. So when the interest rates go up by that 25 basis points or 50 basis points, whatever the Fed actually announces and implements, then the individual that has a long duration bond has an increased change in the value of that bond. So it would fall more. So if we have a short duration, we're sitting real close to that fulcrum. So therefore, that rise in interest rate, we didn't really adjust much. So again, it's a wake-up call for our listeners here on the Professional Edge. When was the last time you objectively evaluated the duration in your bond portfolio? Sounds pretty complicated. It is, yes. Do we put out a piece of paper and a pencil? Absolutely not. What we do is use the software that we have in our office, and then we see the duration of your bond portfolio. And if you're way out on that and you have bonds that are 20 years plus in maturity, then you need to get ready for a more than greater adjustment in value than an individual holding shorter duration bonds. So again, don't carve on the turkey. Get some professional counsel and advice. And we welcome the opportunity to have that discussion at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. We have an office down here in Columbus at the Cunningham Center, and we also have our office up in Atlanta. And in today's status of Zoom, we can hold a meeting anywhere in the country. So if you're listening to this podcast as well, yes, listeners here on the Professional Edge, we broadcast this on Sundays from 9 till 10 on WDAK. We also have a podcast that you can download and subscribe, and each time a new show comes up, you get a little notification, and you know what? You can skip through it, or you can actually listen and get some value. And if you, are getting some value, might want to pass it on and say, hey, you might want to listen to this Professional Edge when you're traveling to and from work. It's short snippets of information, and actually is helpful. So again, when we look at this inflation, there's things that we can control, and that's one, our bond portfolio holdings. Take a second to actually evaluate what's in that bond portfolio or your individual bonds and see how that is going to be affected by a 25 basis point, 50 basis point adjustment in the federal funds rate. What about a 1% adjustment? So more coming up here on the Professional Edge. I appreciate you listening in. My name's Todd, tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner. More coming up.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach Estate Management Counselors and speak with Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.